Okay, so why are we here today? I'm assuming we're here to be visible. Yeah? We're here to occupy public space. We're here to take to the streets. We're here to shout our rage and our pain. And we're here to make our demands heard, loud and clear. Am I right? So we're here to remind the state, society, people in power, the media, that we are here and that we exist and that we resist. But before we do this, before we take to the streets, what I want us to think about is to think about what allows us to actually be here today and occupy public space. First, there are these lands, the territories upon which we stand. These lands are colonized lands and rightfully belong to the Ganyagehaga people, the traditional keepers of these territories. As trans people, as trans communities, we know something about living on the margins of society. We know what it's like to be disenfranchised and to have our most basic rights taken away from us. And as people seeking gender justice, we must not forget that our liberation is tied to that of the indigenous peoples of these lands. We must not forget that gender oppression and the erasure of trans lives has historically happened through colonial and white supremacist interventions. And that if we are to achieve true gender liberation, we have to stand in solidarity with the indigenous peoples of these lands. We have to center their voices in our movements, and as settlers of these lands, we have a responsibility towards those peoples, towards the Ganyagehaga people and all the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island. So, if we gather in a public space today, it is also because of our histories and our histories. For generations and generations, there have been trans folks out there, particularly trans women of color, who have held it down. There have been trans bodies put on the line, beaten by cops, incarcerated, murdered. There have been underground networks of support and resistance, demonstrations, direct actions, lobby groups. We stand here today thanks to the sacrifice, the dedication, the courage, and the fearlessness of our ancestors. Those are the generations of trans people who fought with everything in their bones so they could leave us, every single one of us, a legacy. So we could have the freedom to actually be able to be in this public space today. Great. And if we can all gather in a public space today, it is also thanks to the relentless work and the dedication of our peers. From all the people, and there were so many of them who lobbied for Bill 35, to the youth in Montreal who are organizing in suburbs and universities, to the elders of the community who volunteer their time and their energy to do peer support and to plan community dinners. Every single task, however small, is a contribution to the movement. Every single task, however small, is a step towards making our lives safer. And for this, I express my gratitude to every single one of you. And I also want to take a moment to actually thank the organizers of this march. Yes! Who coordinated logistics, who sat in meetings, who did the dishes after the meetings were over, who sent funding requests, who designed flyers, who volunteered to put up posters. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into organizing a march like this one. And this work is trans work. This is trans organizing. This is trans power in action. And let us all recognize and give thanks to all this trans labor. I want to thank every single one of you, literally every single one of you, for being here today, for being loud, for being visible, for taking up space. But we should also think of those who cannot be here today. There are many trans people who are incarcerated, who are in detention centers, trans people living in hiding because of the violence of borders, trans people with disabilities, trans people who do not have community, who are stranded, trans people for whom the world is still too unsafe for them to be able to be here today. Let us not forget those who are not here, who need us, and for whom we are also marching today. And I also want to take a moment to honor all the trans lives that we have lost over the years, all the trans lives that we have violently lost just this year. Monica Laura, Jasmine Sierra, Caden Clark, Veronica Banks Cano, Maya Young, Dan Marcus Stansberry, Kedari Johnson, Courtney Yochum, Shanti Thompson, Kiona Blackney, Reese Walker, Mercedes Successful, Amos Bede, Goddess Diamond, Diniqua Dodds, D. Wiggum, Sky Mokabi. These are the names that we know. These are the names that we remember. Trans people, particularly trans women, particularly black and Latina trans women, are the target of violence all the time and are being murdered all the time. And most of the times, those deaths go unnoticed. Those deaths go unrecorded, and we don't even have the names to remember those trans deaths. So let us not forget our people, and let us march for them as well today. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was hanging out in a park in the evening with a friend of mine who's also trans. And as we got ready to leave, we hugged each other. And then at the same time, both of us said the same phrase. We said, "Get home safe." And then we just looked at each other and we giggled about the timing of it all. There was something so odd about this synchronized bestowing of the same parting wish to each other. But at the same time, there was something about it that seemed so normal and normalized. As trans people, as non-binary people, as trans women of color in particular, we are always thinking about safety. It is there at the back of our heads all the time. Will I be safe when I step out of my house today? Will I get home safe tonight? Will our friends reach home safe after we bid them goodbye? Like many of us, I spend a lot of time thinking about safety. I spend a lot of time thinking about the ways of making the world that we live in just a little bit more safer for every single one of us, every day. In thinking about this, and in talking about this with others in the community, there is often sadness and hopelessness that accompanies this reflection. The truth of the matter is, there is just so much we can do. We've been trying so hard to change the world, to change society, to claim and assert our humanity, our need for safety, for respect, for dignity, but out there, the world remains violent. You can boo now. Out there, the world remains violent. Trans misogynist violence permeates our everyday life, and cis complicity in this violence just makes it worse. And there is pain in there. There is insecurity. There is trauma. There is anxiety. There is stress. And there is just so much sadness. And at the most, we can hope for cis heteronormative societies to save us, or we can wish for those in positions of power to make the world safer for us. But there's just so much we can do. But we must also remember that we have power, that as trans people, as non-binary people, as trans people of color, as trans women of color, as genderqueer, gender fluid, gender questioning people, we have power too. We have power to organize. We have power to take to the streets. We have power to ask for help and social services. And we have power to ask for our rights. But more than anything, we have the power to love. In a world where there is so much violence, so much pain, we have the power to show up for each other. We have the power to shower each other with care, to offer each other safety, and to offer some healing to each other. We have the power to find each other, to be there for each other, and to learn how to love each other, because society did not teach us how to love ourselves or how to love each other. And this is something that we have to learn and practice. So let us remember trans power. Let us remember our elders. Let us remember our trans youth. Let us remember our peers. Let us remember the generations that are yet to come. Let us remember that we all have diverse experiences. We come from all walks of life, but we are also a community. And as a community, we can show up for each other. We can care for each other, and we can love each other deeply, with accountability, because in the end we may not find safety in the world, but we can always find safety with each other. Remember